Filthy, what's going on, man? Oh yeah, most definitely, man. You know I'm gonna be dropping a video on that Julio Fulio thing, man. Probably tomorrow. You know, I got to do my little research, my little journalism on that. Even though I was familiar with him, you know, I wasn't a big fan of his music. I was familiar with the little beef with him and Young and Ace, and well, you know, I think that's just a figure of speech because it definitely wasn't a little beef. It was actually a very tragic beef. You know what? That's what I should have named this live, man. But yeah, I'm gonna definitely be on it, man. Hey, Dream 392, what's going on, man? Shout out to New York. Imagine from Broward County, Florida. What's good with it? Halik, what's going on, man? Halik, I got a quick question for you, man. Halik, you not DJ Maniac, is that you? Well, shout out to everybody out there though, man. Solitude, no mercy, man. What's up with it? Imagine says, imagine no chances says he doesn't want to hear about the stuff going on with those young men, and I definitely can understand, you know, imagine, but at the same time, we got to realize, man, that it's something that's definitely it's not only is it, well, first and foremost, it's killing, you know, it's killing our young men, you know, in the United States, and then it's also, you know, affecting many lives of other people and stuff, you know, and way at the bottom, it's also killing off the culture of rap. But you know, it's sending a message to the youngsters that in this day and age, you have to be about what you're talking about and all that type of stuff. And that's what I had mentioned a couple days ago when I was talking about how rap was extremely different, how rap is extremely different from when I was growing up. You know, you could brag in your raps and everything didn't lead and turn to beef. And now, you know, in that you know, in that ongoing war out there in Jacksonville, Florida, you know, you have cousins on different sides of the beef, you know, cousins killing cousins and then putting them in videos and all that type of thing. It may it may initially seem funny, but I mean, or silly, but it's definitely some extremely deep stuff that's going on, man, you know. And Young and Ace and Julio Fulio, for those of you guys who are not familiar with those individuals, some young rappers about Florida, Jacksonville area, they both had already previously lost little brothers in this beef, and then, you know, we're in this culture now of the dead culture, you know, and so it's just a whole lot going on, man, without getting into too much what I'll be talking about in my video. But I definitely can understand, man, if you don't want to, you know, if you don't want to hear about it, just don't check the video out. But it's deeper than just what's going on, man. But anyway, Black Superman, what's good, man? Rodney Anderson, Jalen Goodwin, what's good, man? Dane, what's good, man? I appreciate you popping up. And you know, sorry y'all, I haven't been putting out as much content as I would like to put out. I got a job now, man. I've been trying to get this job and stuff. It's pretty kickback. The pay is real good, but it's 6 days a week, you know, and it takes up a lot of my time. And so, and then the bad part about that is it's really no schedule to the job. It fluctuates, you know. Our schedules fluctuate, and so that's the bad part about the job, man. But man, oh, which reminds me too. So I finally got all my songs on that new EP that I'm getting ready to drop, mix and master, of course. Step for Still Stepping. The dude I sent it. I've been trying to get that song mixed and mastered by so many people, man. So this next dude I'm on, he was supposed to have it mixed and mastered 3-4 weeks ago. Then he talked about he had an emergency in the family. Okay, we moved to the next week. Then the next week he was busy and blah blah blah. But reminds me, he was supposed to have it done like Wednesday or Thursday. So I'm gonna tap in with him, and that's the only thing that's holding me up, man. Initially I wasn't Still Stepping, or probably none of this EP. I wasn't going to put it on the streaming sites because, in my opinion, those streaming sites, well, not necessarily in my opinion, those streaming sites are a big ripoff. So for every song that's streamed on those sites, we get 9/10 of a penny. 9/10 of a penny. So you got to probably, I mean, a song would have to be streamed 10 times just to equal. We probably have to get a million plus streams just to make $1,000. So for an individual like myself that's independent, it's no bread in that, and so it's a it's a lot goes into trying to create music as far as the buying the beats, studio time. So initially I wasn't even gonna put it on the streaming site, but I guess I will now, because at the end of the day the streaming site is still good promotion. But I'm gonna still try to slang my CDs and try to slang my flash drives. I know initially about 3 years ago when I first started doing music, people was like, man, OG, we don't want to hear you rap, man. We ain't nobody buying CDs and flash drives no more. But even if I can sell, which I know I'll be able to, even if I only sell 100 CDs at $15, do the math on that. That's $1,500, So it's better than just totally giving my music away. And then some cats commented on my page and they told me, chill, stop being arrogant, man. I mean, stop being modest, man. So I do be gassing, man. I be gassing, man. And to be honest, I feel like not only am I robbing myself, I'm robbing individuals who enjoy my type of hip hop, of good music, man. Because I like I said, I get cracking on that. I get cracking on that mic, man. And so I'm gonna definitely start dropping more music. Hey, y'all, if y'all don't realize it by now, man, Chill's a big ass sellout, man. Yeah, I sold out, man. Yeah, Chill's a big sellout, man. Check it out. Look, 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 look. Bam. Y'all see that? See that Nike shirt, man? Chill been rocking Puma all this time, man. And flip the script just like that, man. Chill, you big old sellout, you. Yeah, man. So I do rock other stuff from besides Puma, a lot. Just a lot of times, I guess some type of way Puma had became my, I don't know if I want to say trademark, but it became a part of my go-to thing when I was on YouTube. So I just normally would stick with it. But yeah, I definitely rock a lot of other stuff besides Puma. And that Puma is still inexpensive, man. I slid past the Puma store the other day. T-shirts got some nice looking stuff too, and to me a lot of that stuff is more fashionable than the Nike shirts. Them Nike shirts be $25 a pop and they be kind of plain, man. But anyway, let me tap in with y'all and check up on some of these people who has tapped in with me, man. Ronald Kelly, he says, what's up in the IE besides the heat, man? Tell me Hospitality Lane is closing down in San Bernardino. Oh, you know what? I'm not really familiar with that. I didn't know that, man. I know it's hot out here, though, man. David McGill said, hey, chill. We've been supporting black rap for so long. Now the Northerners are gassing regularly, and you stated that you don't reciprocate. What's up with that? I ain't said nothing. I ain't said nothing of the likes, man. What is where somebody have to, point that out to me? He says now the Northerners are gassing regularly, and you stated that you don't reciprocate. Oh no, no, not at all. Actually, what I said is, only thing I said about Northern rap is that dude Bands, I like his music. I haven't heard a whole lot of it. And what I said is I don't listen to a lot of music, period. And when I do listen to music, it's mostly rap. If I happen to listen to some other music, it's because I'm in the car with somebody else. But no, I didn't say anything. So sometimes I don't know, because I was going to say misconstrued, but that's not even my words being misconstrued. That's my words totally I won't even say taken out of context. That's my basically being fabricated. But yeah, no, I never said anything like that, man. I don't listen. I love rap, man. I love rap, right? So I don't have a problem with anybody rapping, regardless of the color. I do have a problem with whack music, whether whoever's putting out the music, And so yeah, good rap is good rap, man. Regardless, regardless. And that's what I was gonna say. If a person puts out a song, man, a good song, regardless of the color of that song is gonna do good, regardless of the color of the song. So yeah, that's definitely not true, man. What's up from New Zealand? Chaos, what's good, man? Oh, hey, I appreciate it, Halik. And damn, Halik, I still I didn't see it if you related in the if you put it in the comments, if you were the dude known as DJ Maniac. After I drop this EP that I'm working on, I'm supposed to drop another EP with a dude by the name of DJ Maniac, man. Yeah, 6 days. Mason says 6 days ain't no joke. 6 days ain't no joke, but it will if you can save up for 3 months before spending. Yeah, most definitely, and then I still try to get to the gym. At least I was trying to go twice a day, but sometimes I'm not always able with my schedule fluctuating. And so yeah, sometimes I'm just tired, man. I'm tired, and so and still trying to get this music done. And so yeah, it's been a whole lot, man. Sometimes I, like the other day, I ran to the studio from 9 to 12, and I didn't even get back to the house till like 2:30. Then I had to hop up in the morning at 5:30 to go to work. So, you know, and then when I go to the gym, I do more cardio than I do lifting. So I just do a lot of cardio. I got an extreme, I got a basically what it's known as a exercise. High intensity interval training is basically where you're trying to just exercise and basically in bursts, and so, but normally people like will do an exercise and then rest for 2-3 minutes and then do another exercise that gets your blood pumping. But I go straight for the whole 30 minutes non-stop. A lot of only time I'm really stopping is when I'm picking up some weights and I'm lifting the weights, or I stop to do some push-ups, but I'm running up and down the stairs, sprints back and forth, and so that stuff has me pretty tired, but I'm still trying to get it done, man. I may do another video. Somebody says, Chill, what's up with Lefty Gunplay? I'm not really too familiar with Lefty Gunplay other than what he said in the few videos that I've seen. So, I don't have no beef with Lefty Gunplay. I think sometimes, of course, I know other dudes, sometimes people being younger, we may not articulate our words in the best form and fashion, but I might make another follow-up video. But my only thing about that is this right here, right? Not only people have made some crazy comments right after I made that video, basically like, okay, so now that the dude, anybody who starts rapping, black people feel like they should have access to their daughters and family and be in relationships with them and all that crazy type stuff. No, not at all, right? But first and foremost, let's keep it solid, right? And I've been doing a lot of research on this lately. Rap is a black art form created by blacks, right? I was looking at some videos today, man, by some well-known Puerto Rican hip-hop legends. One dude, his name is Batch. You have this Puerto Rican professor by the name of Derek Colin, and he's trying to basically give a whole lot of the credit of the creation of rap toward Hispanics. And so there was a Puerto Rican, and so there was a Puerto Rican dude, a hip hop legend. I'd never heard of him, but obviously Derek Colon had heard of him, who's also Puerto Rican. He was interviewing him. You guys can look this up. This is on YouTube, and I'll insert it into my video. He says, hey, brother, let me stop you right here. He says, basically, respect to you and what you're doing for the Puerto Rican community. This is that hip-hop legend, the Puerto Rican Batch dude talking. He says, but hey, man, listen. Rap was created by my black brothers, and then I seen another dude who said, basically that, rap was created by blacks, and anything that they started doing, it was because the brothers was doing it. So I say all that to say, when you have not necessarily, because this is not even about Lefty Gunplay per se. When you have an individual, right, who will embrace the rap culture, not only does he's rapping, he's got gold grills in his mouth, he's got the swag of a black person. Not only all that, right, he's sampling music, black beats and stuff. Not only that, but he will go as far as to refer to himself as my nigga. He'll call people nigga. Now he doesn't use nigga in his raps, right? But there is a video of him cussing this girl out and telling her, yeah, nigga, I'll smoke you and this and that. So he will go not only as far, like I say, as to embrace the art form of black people. He will go as far as to refer to himself and his homies and others as what some people consider the most vile, disrespectful, derogatory term, not only in the United States, but around the world, man. That is a very derogatory, disrespectful term that's accepted everywhere. Not too long ago, I seen some black basketball players. I don't know if they was in South Korea or where they was, but when they was going over there, even some of the Koreans or whoever they was, they was saying, go home, get out of here, get out of here, They was calling, the basketball players N-words. And I say that to say, everyone knows that is a vile, disrespectful, derogatory term, depending on the way you use it. Some blacks use it as a term of endearment, but so he has gone as far as even calling himself the N-word. Hey, what's up, my he's and referring to other people, and not only necessarily him. You have other rappers too, right, who are non-black. So how could you do all of that? How could you embrace all of that, do all of that, but then say, I don't want my daughter dating a black dude? To me, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And somebody on my page made a good point. They would say that would be akin or equal to me or a black person singing mariachi music. I dress myself up in the regalia or the uniform or the costume that you will see a lot of people who do mariachi music. I'll do all that, you know. I'll use their terms. I'll call myself and my homies or my friends whatever terms they use. I'll start in Spanish, and then I'll tell people that, oh, but I don't want my daughter dating a Mexican or Hispanic. I mean, come on, that's ludicrous, all right? I mean, I know a lot of us, we all have different comprehension skills. We all think differently. We all have, we all perceive things differently. But come on, let's use some common sense. That's just crazy, right? Wouldn't that be crazy? That would just be crazy. I mean, and so it's people are blowing things out of proportion in terms of about it's lefty gunplay, or blacks are mad because we're not unable to date Mexicans and all that. No, that has nothing to do with it, right? We all, or not all of us, because I will honestly say that there are some people who do not have preferences about who their children date. The only thing they want for their children is their children to be respected, loved, provided, and cared for by whoever they're dating, right? But for those of us who do have preferences, and sometimes the preferences are for selfish reasons, because we want our bloodline to stay whatever it is. And I have a preference, but I'm not demanding. I wouldn't refuse my children if they came home and say that person not accepted. I believe I've mentioned before, I have biracial family on both sides, all sides. You guys hear me tell a story about a lot of times about my cousin Chris Booty from Montana. He white girlfriends all his life. I've never even seen him with a black woman, and he's been going. Well, they're no longer together, but he for a long time was with a woman, white woman from Montana, and she's my cousin. I consider her my cousin to this day. And if I see, my cousin Chris Booty, he's been going through some things, and if one time I had to get on his helmet about being disrespectful toward her. So I have no qualms about race. I'm not hang up on races and race and all that type of stuff. And then also my cousin Chris Booty, by this lady that he's been dating, he has several children, maybe about 4 or 5 kids, maybe more. But those are my cousins. So it's not about, I believe, I can speak for at least some people when I say it's not about we're upset that we can't date outside the race, or people don't want us dating their daughters, wives, so on and so forth. It's bigger than that. If you are going to embrace our culture, and you're gonna go, you're gonna go through all that, like I say, and go as far as to even refer to yourself as the N-word, but then say that you don't want your daughter to date us. To me, that's ridiculous. That's like, and then I think people fail to realize, right? A lot of times, and this is not being racial, this is just being real, right? If you are not black, you may not get that, because I feel that blacks are the most discriminated against race in the world. Keep in mind, man, that we suffered through something extremely, extremely horrible, in terms of slavery, right? Slavery is worse. Slavery was actually worse than the Holocaust. The only difference between the Holocaust and slavery, you have a lot of generations and decades and years of slavery that was not documented. It's the horrors of slavery is I won't even get into that, but it's horrific. Just real quick, imagine being stuck on the bottom of a boat for a year, handcuffed and chained next to 40, 60 people, people in there defecating and urinating, women having their menstrual cycle, people dying and smelling that, under that boat, just to get brought over here. And then everything, that the blacks went through. But what I'm saying all this to say, so that's almost equal to, you have these white people back in the slavery times, they got black women cooking for them. They got black men out there in the fields, harvesting their food and planting their food. They got black women breastfeeding their baby. They got their baby suckling on the breast of black women. But then you turn around and you say that black people are beneath you. They're creeping out at nights in those shacks that they have black people in, sexually assaulting these women. But then these people are beneath you, and that's just to go into it slightly, you know what I'm saying? Because I like to keep my page about basically what it's about, man. Prison, but I mean, yeah, prison. But of course, when I was in prison, man, I did a whole lot of reading, man, and so I'm way more than just a comedian and a dude that tells stories, man. I just don't like to, I like to keep my page about what it's about. People don't go to a disco club to hear a church sermon. You know what I'm saying? And so if people want that type of history lesson, they'll go there. But from time to time, you know, I believe that certain things call for a little bit of educating, but that would be crazy. That's crazy like that, So it's not about lefty gunplay per se. It's about the embracing of our culture. But then you will turn around and say that we're not enough for you. If you feel like that, then you should not embrace the culture. That's how I feel, right? I'm not just to go hang out with no dude that's in the KKK or a person that I know that I don't like, and then so that's all I'm trying to get into, man. For those who try to understand what I'm trying to say, I know I went a long time on that, man, but imagine a second chance to say it need a team to promote your show. Well, yeah, most definitely, right? But most definitely, of course, what I need to start doing more promoting of my damn self, which is dropping more music, man. Like I be telling y'all, or maybe I don't. I haven't even scratched the surface, And I've been lately, because a lot of times I've been on here, cats been wanting me to freestyle, and I was telling you guys, no, man, because my freestyle has to be. I used to have a top-notch freestyle, and so I don't want to come up here and give you guys what I feel would be a lackluster freestyle, but I'm back, and I've been practicing, because my freestyle used to be so elaborate that you can't even tell I'm freestyling. Once I start freestyling, a lot of people is gonna say, "Oh man, chill. That's a written rap." Because a lot of times when I'm listening to people rap, I can kind of tell, or at least I feel that I can tell if they're really freestyling. And let me clear that once again. Out in California, when I was raised up, what we considered a freestyle was making something up off the top of your head right then and there. Some people consider a freestyle just a rap that a person has written that really has no direction or no structure, and it doesn't have a hook, and they could be talking about anything. But if you've already memorized something, in my opinion, that's not a freestyle. And so a freestyle is just right off the top of the head, saying whatever comes to mind, making it rhyme. But the way that a lot of times I can tell a person is freestyling, they'll say the same stuff over and over. Hey, we out here, man. We doing it, man. We trying to get the band because we rocking it, man. We on it, doing it, we doing it, man. It's ain't send the pop a copy, no. We doing it, man. 9 times out of 10, unless you these youngsters nowadays, you don't write raps just repeating the same word, over and over and over. And then a lot of times too, when a person is freestyling, their delivery is not quite on beat, because as I explained earlier, sometimes a person will try to fit too many syllables into a certain section of the music and be off beat. And so most people who freestyle and write, when they write, the song sounds better, the timing is better, because then you can put the right word into the right amount of space. Like I said, sometimes what may throw a person off, it may just be as simple as using the right word. Whatever you're trying to say, you have to select the right word sometimes, so your timing don't be off. So sometimes instead of just saying cannot, you'll have to say can't. Sometimes instead of saying I want to go, just say I went, so it'll fit better. But it just all depends. But anyway, so yeah, one of these days I'm gonna give you guys this immaculate freestyle, man. Juan Rosser says, what's up, chill? Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing, man? Oh, okay. Halik said, I hit you about a feature. Remember, chill? Oh, okay. I don't quite remember, but possibly, City Roger said, you rock Puma so long, I thought you had stock. Yeah, I should have tried to get some stock. So now we got a new cat I ain't never seen before. His name is John Barron, and he's saying criminal. Yeah, thank you, man. That's you telling me something I didn't know, man. Thank you, man. Listen, John. Instead of wasting your time trying to make me feel embarrassed or some type of way, man. Listen, it is what it is, man. We all make mistakes. Yeah, I'm a criminal. I'm a killer. I'm a murderer. I'm an ex-shooter. All that old type of stuff, man. We all make mistakes. It is what it is, Back like cook crack. So you want some soft shit in your hand and squeeze it, man. It don't matter to me, man. You're wasting your time. You're telling me something I don't know, man. Or you telling me something? You telling me something that I do know, man? I'm pretty sure everybody on here knows that I'm a former criminal and whatever, And so, and once again, that leads me right back to when somebody had brought up the topic of Young and Ace and all that old type of stuff with and Julio Fulio. Unfortunately, when I was young, caught up in doing what some people was doing. I failed and I embraced a certain type of culture and an ideology, and it leads to sometimes things that end up traumatizing and hurting people, and so that's why I think it's important to discuss that that the passing of Julio Fulio and all, that activity that's going on nowadays, because I call it, like I say, it's a disrespectful generation, in my opinion, where people think it's cool to be disrespectful and all that type of stuff. And so yeah, it's a whole lot going on, man. It's many lives lost on both sides of those two factions that's beefing with each other. Julio Fulio and Young and Ace's side of town. So yeah. Oh man, when I'm gonna do another chances video? Oh, hopefully pretty soon, man. Hopefully pretty soon. Somebody says, chill. What's maybe the deal with the Bay Area prison stories? Quit playing. I know you got some real ones. Well, I never any time in any prisons in the Bay. The furthest up north that I went, which I don't even think it's considered up north, I think it's considered maybe Central California, was Salinas Valley. And that's why I tell a lot of people, or I tell people that I don't really have a lot of stories about the Northerners, because when I was doing time, at that point in time, the animosity and the hostilities between the North and the South were still prevalent. So due to there wasn't as many Northerners to certain prisons, and a lot of those prisons were up north. I did a lot of my time in down south prisons, Ironwood and stuff like that. And so, initially when I got to Salinas, yeah, of course there was Northerners there, but like I mentioned before, by being young and my first time to prison, I'm just trying to figure out, what I'm supposed to do and all that type of stuff. And then people got to realize this is 1994, 1996 when I first got to prison. There is no YouTube and none of that stuff. I'm from down south, right? So I didn't even know that there was beef between the Northerners and the Southerners. I didn't know anything about bulldogs or stuff like that, because like I say, there ain't no YouTube or no social media out. So how am I supposed to know all that when I ain't even been up to, Oakland, San Francisco, and stuff like that. So now, when I first got to prison, yeah, I figured all that out. But at the same time, like I say, I was just trying to figure out, the best way for me to survive up in there, thinking that I'm never going home and all that stuff. So, yeah, somebody just, I think I just spoke on that already. Somebody said, what you think about the Julio Fulio situation, Chill? It's tragic, man. And to me, it's sad and it's crazy to me that how, even with the Julio Fulio situation, Chicago, all these rappers who participate in either drill rap or the disrespectful rap, how you can see 8, 9, 10 dudes before you, 5, 6 months before you, diss the dead and get shot and killed, and think that they can do it and it's not gonna happen to them. That's what trips me out. But like I said, sometimes when you're young, if you're caught up in a generation that's doing that stuff, you may fall victim to it. You may get, you might get caught up in it. Who's to say if I was born in this generation that I wouldn't be doing it? It's only now, they say hindsight is 2020, and now that I'm older and now that I'm mature, I can look back on some of the foolishness that I was involved in. So who's to say? But it's definitely a sad situation, man. And then, to my understanding, he was killed in Tampa, which I don't know how too far that is from Jacksonville, but it's still in the state of Florida. And in this day and age, when these dudes, either they drop their location, either they drop their I'm damn out here, these flies is whipping me. They drop their location either intentionally or unintentionally. Somebody see you posted up on somebody see you, posting something on your social media, they may say, hey man, listen, we old boy is such and such, and if they want you bad enough, in the car and drive that 2-3 hours or however far it is away, to get you. I seen something, I believe where that's how one of them dudes had previously got shot. You know, they was somewhere eating at a was it Waba Grill or somewhere. Post, you know, at a birthday celebration, you know, posted it on Instagram or whatever it was, and some people seen it and they waited outside for him, and they shot the car up, and I believe three of them was killed, and including one of the dude's brothers. I don't know if it was Julio Fulio's brother or Young and Ace's brother, because like I said earlier too, what's sad is they both of those rappers who was beefing with each other, they had previously already lost brothers to this ongoing beef. So yeah, man, this stuff is tragic, man. It's tragic, and I trip on how, you know, when they see all their homies and friends around them getting shot and killed, that they don't think that it's gonna, you know, it's gonna come back and eventually lead to them, because it's definitely a more deadlier than when I grew up in terms of the social media. You know, everybody that you're dissing can get a good look at you and know what you look like, and so yeah, it's a cold situation if you ask me, man. Oh, salute from Tijuana, Big Mouse, man. What's going on? I appreciate it, man. He says, salute from Tijuana, chill, dig your get down, man. You conduct yourself with respect. Hey, I thank you. I appreciate it, man. Mario Sanchez, do you believe in racial purity? Do I believe that any race is pure? I guess is what you're saying. For the most part, you know, I would say no, right? Because I believe that, you know, you have a lot of races that in time that have, you know, procreated together and all that. But when I was locked up, I was watching what's the black dude who has that show where he does DNA research, and he would say all the time that, you know, there's no pure race. But then he tested the genes of some white dude, man, and that dude was 100% European. I forget his name. So, you know, for the most part, no. But no, I don't necessarily believe, you know, that for the most part I don't believe pure races, you know. Somebody says, it's no question, chill. We own the cool pop trending culture. Everyone else bites jazz, blues, rock, soul, hip hop. All started by us. You know, I'm not gonna come on here and say you lying or disagree with that, man. I honestly believe that, you know, and that the blacks are the most mutated people. You know, man, just look around the world, man. You got Crips in Japan, Germany. Not saying that other cultures are not emulated, but, you know, it's just, man, you know, like I say, we've got not only Hispanics, but we've got white people. We've got all races, man. Just think about this. All races now, not every single person of every race, but we have people of every race all over the world referring to themselves as my nigga. I mean, just think, that's deep right there, right? That's deep, man. People have took what was once a extremely derogatory slur in relation to black people, and now they refer to themselves as my nigga. And of course, you have other individuals in all those races who don't do that and who don't agree with it, but still in all, I just think that's monumental, where, you know, you have people who use that term, you know, and they believe it's cool to do it, and it just says a lot to me in terms of how cool we must be to them. I mean, because why would you want to refer to yourself in a term that's considered negative and derogatory, unless, you know, at some point in time it's become cool to you, you know? So it's just a whole lot, man. Not the other day, I got a song, y'all, that's called In the House. And to me, the beat is hard, the beat is banging, right? The beat has and it's on, you can find it on YouTube. You know, some of my stuff is not on my page or whatever. but it's on my YouTube playlist on gas station. And anyway, the beat is hard, and I thought that the beat was made by some dudes, some black dudes from up north. Man, that beat was made by some dudes in some Danish dudes way over there in Denmark or something. So because I'm trying to purchase the beat and I want to do a video to it, so I'm tracking down who done the beat, and I send them a message. Find out, man. So we hop on Instagram and we talking with each other, and these are some white dudes, man. I said, damn, man, how the hell did you guys learn to make beats like that way over there? Because and what made you guys out of all genres of hip hop to pick? How did you guys start making? Because to me, I consider that to be a up north California beat, like Oakland, the Bay Area. And they just listen to rap, and we think it's cool, because most of the times when you have people from out of the country making hip hop beats, they'll go with more East Coast type beats. And so I was just surprised that they had went with a northern, or because I'm just assuming that West Coast Southern California West Coast music is more popular than up north West Coast music, but I could be wrong. But so it just surprised me that they would choose that style of hip hop to make and do a great job. And so, like I say, that just solidifies what I'm saying as to how popular rap is, how popular, the trends by a lot of black people, or the art by black people has become all over the world, worldwide. I think it just says a lot. I don't think you have too many people of any race copying Danish music, trying to make Danish music. I don't think you have as many people of other races making other people's music, other cultures' music, as you do people making the other people who are not black making hip hop music. That's basically what I'm trying to say. You'll find more ethnicities making hip hop than you'll find black people making music of other ethnicities, and it's not a problem with that, right? I don't. Once again, I don't think hip hop should be exclusively to black people or whatever. That's not the problem. The thing, I think that got blown out of proportion is everybody tried to make certain things about Lefty Gunplay when it was nothing about Lefty Gunplay per se. It was more about just what he said, man. It's like I said, if you're embracing the culture type of stuff, but then you turn around, you're getting grills in your mouth, you're using the N-word and all that, but then you say that, you didn't say that you didn't prefer your daughter to date a black person. You said you would not allow your daughter to date a black person. And then also, to me, that's something that stood out. You didn't say, I don't want my daughter dating outside of the race. To me, your statement was, you made it exclusively about black people. I don't want my daughter coming home with a black person. You didn't say coming home with a person that's not Hispanic. I can understand that. But so I think that's what, the people who disagree with your, I think that's what they were up in arms about, But once again, I'm not the spokesman for all black people. So anyway, hey, y'all, but listen here, man. These flies is on me, man. I'm gonna have to get up out of here. They is whooping my ass. But like I say, what I'm gonna try to do, I'm gonna try to start going live more regular. I say that all the time. Okay, and thank you, because I'm not skimming through the comments like as rapidly as I normally do. He says those basketball players were in China. So yeah, thank you. Hey, thank you. I see somebody else saying it too. That was in China. So yeah, thank you. And I'm not saying this to be politically correct, right? I believe at this stage in the game, man, we should be all, we all should be passed on a person's color, man. We shouldn't, that shouldn't be the first, the first of our concerns, man. But it stems, I believe, from a lot of, everybody has a history. Everybody has history. Everybody's people have a history, and it's reasons to why people feel the way we feel, But at this point in time, man, it just seems like that it's 2024, and damn, we are still tripping on racial issues, when it really should be all about just, is this person respectful? As long as this person is respectful, so on and so forth, And look, somebody tapped in with me the other day, and when I get a chance. And that's what really kills me. I'm unable to do the interviews now like I would like to, because the interviews take up a lot of more of my time. They're more time consuming. I don't know if you guys, sometimes you guys will see me with my little work shirt on in the work van. I can always hop on here and do a quick video, but I'm not able to sit down and interview a person. But a dude tapped in with me the other day, and he's black, and he said he's a racist. And so of course, I want to interview him. I want to know, what made him become a racist. And so, and he's 65 years old, and he said that racism wasn't taught in his home, because he said he's the only, I think he said he's the only one of 6 children that's a racist. So it's just. So I want to know. I'm interested in how he come to that conclusion. And so I said all that to say, don't think for a second I think that there aren't black people who are racist. To keep it 100, blacks are some of the biggest racists. I've heard some black people say a lot of stuff that if other individuals from other races heard it, they would say, hey man, that's racist. And I believe to a certain extent we all say racial things. I don't necessarily believe that we're all racist, but we all say things that, if heard by the wrong person, or a person of a different race or ethnicity, they would consider that racist. Like I told you guys a long time ago, I got a good Asian friend, man, and me and him clown, and we make jokes among ourselves with each other that if somebody, we make jokes along the stereotypical lines. He might say, hey chill, what's going on, man, you bought all the chicken? And I'll say, hey no man, you got all the noodles over there. Just stuff like that. We joke, we make jokes that would be considered racist or stereotypical if the wrong person heard them. But he's not racist, I'm not. So I just think that sometimes, people take things out of context, and I definitely believe that nowadays the world is so sensitive about what's being said. So it's just I think sometimes people get caught up with that, man. Caleb says, hey, I ain't never caught you live. Hey, I appreciate it, Caleb. I don't go live as much as I should, and so that probably plays a big part in it to it. Mario Sanchez said, but I met plenty of blacks who prefer black men with black women. That's true. That may be true. I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. There was a point in time when I would see a beautiful black woman with a white dude, and I would get angry, like, dang, why is she dating outside her race? But then, later on, as I grew up, to keep it 100 again, I realized that sometimes black men don't always treat black women with the respect. Anytime I talk to a black woman who has worked in the California Department of Corrections system, she will say in a heartbeat that she is disrespected and talked about the most by black men in prison. She says the Mexicans treat her with respect, the whites treat her with respect, or if they don't, it's an issue unrelated to race. But she says, when she gets into it, the blacks, they disrespect her, they call her out her name, so on and so forth. And I'm gonna keep it 100 again. In prison, I've never seen, and when I say never, I have never seen a Mexican man in prison disrespect a Mexican woman that is a CO or something up there. They respect their women up in there. Now I don't know if that's something that they have, among their, their bylaws or whatever, but I've never seen it. That's something for the brothers I can't say. I've seen brothers disrespect women, call them the most vilest names, talk about them to the point where I was a little embarrassed, because by me growing up in a small community where everybody knew everybody, and even the black community was even smaller, we were taught to respect, we were taught to respect we were taught to respect everybody, especially the black women in that town, in that community, because that's, that's somebody's mother's, that's somebody's sister, cousin, so on and so forth, right? And so, I don't think it's nothing wrong with people who have preferences. I don't think it's nothing wrong, with people who want to keep their bloodline pure, or as pure as possible. They want their last name to continue and stuff like that. I don't think it's nothing wrong with that, But now, when a person tries to dictate what another grown person can and can't do, to me, that's crazy. First and foremost, who thinks that they have the right to tell another grown person, even if that grown person is your child, who they can and cannot date? But some people think like that, which is to me, which is asinine. But we got Mr. Urban World says, I speak 10 languages. I know what everyone is saying about me. Oh, amen. That's something that I would love to to do to be able to speak at least 2 or 3 different languages. Be Kind said, "What was your buddy's name?" Man, I've been talking so much, I don't even know what buddy you talking about. And then, like I said, like I said, I haven't been scrolling through the comments like I normally do. So you may have said this long time ago. And then Mr. Urban World said, "I'm sorry, but that made me laugh so loud." See, it's been so long, I don't even know what I said. There is Afro-Mexicans in Mexico, of course. I'm not against saying people have their own preferences. True, but the black Colombians I've met look like black Americans. I went to a restaurant in Wisconsin that was 100% Spanish, no English, black dude who came out and told me no English. Oh yeah, most definitely, right? And then a lot of people fail to realize too, right? Just another quick history lesson, right? You have Jamaicans, you'll have like black Colombians, you'll have, people over in Haiti. All those people are Africans or of African descent, right? The only difference is when they was took from Africa during the slave trade, some boats pulled over maybe in Brazil and blacks got off there, but the slave ships made different stops in different places, right? Some got in Jamaica. Jamaica is not a race. Jamaicans are a culture. Those dudes are of African history. They may have got over there and created a whole nother culture over there, but those dudes are still Africans who just grew up in a different part of the world. The same with black Puerto Ricans, Colombians, all that type of stuff. Listen, if you take some chickens and you drop them off and you raise them around foxes, you raise them around pigs, you raise them around donkeys, after a period of time, they may start to emulate the ways and the actions of those different animals, but at the end of the day, they are still chickens. And this is what people fail to realize, if you take a person from Africa and you bring him to America, that dude is still an African. If his family reproduces and so on and so forth, he may become Americanized. He may emulate the ways of people in America. But if you test his blood, he's still African. That's what people fail to realize. Jamaicans and all that stuff, those dudes are Africans or of African descent, and so the same with black Colombians, Puerto Ricans, Haitians, all that type of stuff, Dominicans, some of those dudes, man, you can look at those people and see they are definitely have African features. Now, of course, over a period of time, they may have procreated with people in the area or the region that they were dropped off at, and so now they may have mixed blood, but that's why the blood of the African will still be found in them upon a DNA, a genealogy test. Big Daddy says every race has been slaves at some point, and that may be true, right? You have some races who were indentured slaves as well, but the horror that the black slave experience was definitely extremely more traumatizing and extremely more worse than any documented history of slaves upon any other race. Like I said, the only one that people can really compare is that even comes close to the black I would say the black experience of being slaves is the Jews in the Holocaust. And like I said, that's because that Holocaust was documented and recorded much better than it was with the with the slaves, with the African slaves. David Miguel said, I agree. However, you might not see the discrimination Mexicans get, especially us in the U.S. We get it too, for sure. And I know I don't disagree with that, right? And I believe that all minorities experience some type of some type of discrimination, right? And so of course that all affects us differently. I believe that the only ones who are not discriminated against are people who are white, because of course they are the whites are the majority over here. So of course when you have a Mexican and you have a black talking about discrimination, you're gonna have some white people who feel that we're crying, and we have, we're crying unnecessarily because they have not experienced that type of discrimination. I don't have no doubt that Mexicans as minorities get treated similar to blacks, and that's why I trip on how we are. When I say we, I'm talking about blacks and Mexicans. Are when we are often at each other's throats when we experience a lot of the same things growing up. I don't believe white people have the experience to the degree that blacks and Mexicans do. How when we walk into the store, we may have a pocket full of intention to buy, and we'll get followed around the store. That just happened to me maybe about a month or two ago. I was in the Riverside at an AM/PM somewhere, and every row I go, I'm watching this dude just follow me to each row. After a while, a motherfucker get tired of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Leave me the fuck alone. I'm not in here to steal this cheap ass shit. But so by the white people not having to experience that, a lot of times they cannot relate to that, and they cannot have empathy. They cannot have empathy for that type of situation. The same way, like I said, a lot of times when you'll have white people, they don't necessarily get the same negative treatment from police as you will have black people and Mexican people in our communities. A lot of times, in especially in urban communities, the police will pull blacks and Mexicans over, and they will automatically be condescending. Hey, you got a license, get out, sit on the curb. I've been having a driver's license since the age of 16, and many times the first thing they would ask me to do is get out and sit on the curb. Where when a white person gets pulled over by a white officer in their community, it's, oh, how are you doing today, Mrs. Lawrence? I just wanted to let you know that your tail light is out, and you need to get that fixed. Take your time, but I'm just letting you know. And so, it's a different type. It's a different type of experience, right? So when you are dealing with a person who's always cordial, you're gonna see those people as nice people. When this same person may deal with me totally different than the way he deals with you. So of course you're not going to be able to relate or have empathy because your experience is different, man. Case in point, I was going to Walmart with a certain individual, right? And this person was telling me how the person who's checking these tickets is an asshole. Every time I had an experience with that person who was checking the receipts, that person was nice. So I said, oh no, this lady's nice. Right then and there, the lady, she tripped. She got to being an asshole because the person that I was with did not want to show the receipt due to the prior experiences they had with this person. And then this lady who was checking the receipts grabbed the damn shopping cart. And so, matter of fact, I seen her today when I left Walmart. So now so today, ever since that time, now I walk right past her. I don't show her my receipts or nothing because once she showed me that side of her, because really you guys can research this, and this is something that I feel that, man, and I'm getting far off from topic, but everything today is a lot of information is at our fingertips. For those who don't know, the Walmart people have no right to demand to see your receipt. They can ask to see your receipt. Now, in the event if they suspect you of stealing or shoplifting, then they can ask to see your receipt. And if you say no, they're not supposed to grab you, put their hands on you, touch your cart. Even the security guards there. The security guards are only there to observe and report. That's all they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to grab you. They're not supposed to touch you, try to subdue you, anything. So a lot of times you have these people who are working at expendable positions in these jobs. They want to take it over and beyond the scope of what their job is supposed to do. And like I said, this lady, she grabbed my cart and all this old type of stuff. And so, now I treat her like shit. But a lot of times, if a person doesn't experience certain things, they may have a different perception or a different way of thinking about certain stuff. And so I definitely believe that, Hispanics or Mexicans, Latinos, and blacks, by us being minorities in this country, we have different experiences than white people in a lot of situations. Somebody says, You usually stick up for Mexicans, especially Southsiders. Why the change of heart now? I'm not sticking up for Mexicans or Southsiders. To me, I say things, man, the way I see them, you know. And when I'm talking about a topic, like I said earlier, in prison, I've never seen Southsiders or Mexicans disrespect the female guards up in there. That's just something that I've never seen. I've always seen the blacks calling the women up in there, you know, the B word, this and that. I've talked to a lot of times, you know, a lot of COs, male and female, tap in with me. A lot of times they'll hit me in the comments or they'll email me, right? I had been emailing this one sister who worked in a lot of these prisons for about 2-3 years, right? And she would tell me all the time, man, she gets so disrespected by the blacks up in there. If you guys see that interview that I done with a lady who was a psychiatrist, a black lady, I think it's the name of it. I worked on at a level 4 prison or something. You know, she would tell me all the time that, you know, it was only blacks that it's only blacks that disrespect her up in there. So when you say, when this person says Sauce Mac, you usually stick up for Mexicans, especially Southsiders, why the change of heart now? It's not a change of heart. It's just on this situation, I'm speaking what's real, you know. So that's the situation now, and I don't necessarily believe I'm disrespecting them now, right? I'm just saying the truth of this matter right here, you know. I mean, I believe anybody that happens to follow the California prison genre, stories and stuff like that, they know that blacks are extremely fractured and splintered in prison. And of course, when you have people that are split up, fractured, you're gonna have a lot of dissension. You're gonna have a lot of hostility. Like, okay, and so like I tell you guys all the time, right? The whole time that I was in prison, I never got into a physical riot with Southsiders in the California prison system. I had a few, or Mexicans. I had a few riots with paisas in the county jail, but none in prison, right? But I can tell you at least 15 or 20 riots between different black factions, black on blacks, you know. And so to me, that just says a whole lot. You know, why are there so many black on black riots in prison? You know, so it's not a matter of sticking up for anyone, right? It's just being honest and keeping things real as they occur. You know, I mean, when people tune in to prison channels, and I don't understand why, when they hear how things really are in prison, whether it's black on black, whether it's Mexican on black, whether it's blacks getting the best of the Mexicans, whether it's the Mexicans getting the best of the blacks, people get upset. You know, if you happen to hear whatever group you support taking the losing end of the stick, then there's negative thought, you know, there's negative comments. People are upset. Chill, you're racist, or a person is this, or if it's another person telling the story, you know, people are upset. But sometimes that's just how things happen, you know. Prison is not a daycare center. Prison is not you know, it's not the center of fair, you know, and inclusive. Prison is prison. Anyway, I got 93 people in here, which is pretty good, man. I appreciate everybody for sliding through. Like I say, considering I don't come on here often, man. Hey, thank you, T. Wassa. He says, peace and blessings. Keep this message going, man. 4MG Music, Yard Down, Call of Duty Game. Hi, who are you? What's the purpose of this channel? Oh man, I got a prison channel, Call of Duty Gamer. I got a prison channel, man, and so I just talk about, you know, my experience in prison, and sometimes, you know, I'll expound on things outside of prison. So I don't know if you're still here or not. King Music or 4MG Music said no more jail stories. Yeah, I do got a few more jail stories, right? And the bad thing about that is those jail stories, I want to incorporate pictures and stuff where I have to use my computer. And so, like I said, with the editing, the process is a little bit longer. So I've been unable to do that, but I'm definitely get around to doing that as soon as I can. Actually, today I was supposed to be going to Vegas. I had a member of my family pass away, but normally I work 6 days a week. Every now and then I'll get a Saturday off, but I don't know until the like Friday, they'll, when I'm getting off Friday, they say, okay, well, you guys have no more work for the day. And then they say, okay, well, you got tomorrow off. But I normally work 6 days a week, or else I would have been in Vegas. But so due to that, due to that messed up schedule, man, I haven't had any time to just really sit down and get cracking on my computer. But yeah, I got a few more good stories. But like I say, I want to incorporate some pictures, um, video of the day rooms and stuff that I'm talking about. And I'm gonna do a story on the death of a white Crip in a riot, and I want to incorporate pictures and stuff like that. So yeah, I still got a few more. Uncle Ramo, what's going on, man? Black Seed beat it changed over the years. I talked to the OGs about this recently. Chills my cousin, and then Black Seed Beach. Yeah, like I say, haven't been scrolling through the comments, so I don't even, and I've been talking so much, I don't even know what your message is about, man. Somebody says, what's up, Unc? Dubs is a clown to me, right? Well, I definitely think Dubs has a way of, man, telling his stories in a biased fashion, right? To me, Dubs is just he's biased. He's biased. I don't necessarily think that makes him racist. I think he's biased. I heard him tell a story about the North and the South, and in my opinion, he was biased in that towards the South, because that's the side that he represents. I'm not real familiar with any of that history, right? But one thing I do know is he was saying that the North and the South at one point in time, they was all one, and dudes from the South wasn't bullying dudes from the North because they were all one. Well, regardless of being all one unified front, one thing you can't change is the tendency of humans, right? And people tend to have biased opinions toward wherever they're from. So even though they were all unified, I do know that people from certain areas tend to think that due to its more action going on, they are more with the business, or they are more active than dudes from areas dudes from certain areas that don't have as much activity or considered dangerous activity going on. I've seen this all through prison. I've often seen this same issue, not only with blacks. I've seen it with Hispanics from the IE in LA area. I've seen it with Hispanics from the San Diego and LA area. This goes on all the time, right? I've even seen it with blacks. I've even seen this with blacks in the IE area. Of course, I've seen it with blacks with the LA area. In the IE area, you have blacks from LA who think that since it's more activity goes on in LA, the dudes from IE are not as hard as them because there's more shootings and gangster stuff going on out in LA. But now, even to compress that and getting more smaller, I've even seen it in the IE area when you have dudes from San Bernardino. Hey man, you dudes from Bandon aren't as real with us because there's more shootings and more stuff like that happening out here in San Bernardino than it is in Bandon. To keep it 100, when I left and went to Montana, I was feeling my damn self. Man, there's nothing going on out here in Montana. You dudes ain't gangsters out here. So that's just a human tendency. That's human nature sometimes for people to feel where they're from is more dangerous than other spots that don't have as much activity. So for a person to say that people didn't think like that back in the 60s and 70s because they were all unified, to me is just crazy. And then I seen dudes from up north in the comments saying, no, I done time in those times, and it was like that because it's that's just human nature. So I say all that to say once again, man, I believe that a lot of what Dubs does, he has a tendency to tell things in a way that he's just biased towards whoever whoever he is associating himself with. Somebody says, how would your mom or your grandma or sister feel about you bringing a white woman home? They wouldn't care one bit. My brother dates white women. My brother has children by white women. My brother don't have any children by black women. My brother been bringing white women home, and my brother had one black girlfriend, and I think she was sixth grade. Here's a little. My brother used to date the mother of the rapper Diablo. I don't know if you guys heard about Diablo from Bannon. And I think it was like in sixth or seventh grade, my brother used to date his mother. And so my brother has never, and when I say never, I mean never. My brother has never brought a black woman home. He did date a black girl in the fifth or sixth grade or something, but he never, that they was at an age where, she didn't come to our house. But my brother has never brought a black woman home. My mom don't care, in my relation, in my growing up, we wasn't my mom had no qualms. My mom or my father being from the South, from Virginia, they never told us don't date outside the race. They never spoke ill of other races. Man, I've had Mexican babysitters, white babysitters. My mom was real good friends with a Mexican lady who stayed right down the street. Their sons used to babysit us, taught us how to box, all that. So I've never experienced that. Not to say that, I do believe it's black families out there that don't want their children dating outside of their race, but that wasn't my experience growing up. Adam Casey, what's going on, man? Smiling Beach, what's going on? Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Adriano Yassi, what's up with it? Cool Breeze, what's good, man? Mr. Benjamin, where do I buy your music? Gee, I keep your music on rotation on your gas station list. Well, you know what? Hey, thank you. I appreciate it, Mr. Benjamin. I got that one song called Never Gave Me Therapy. It's on all major streaming sites. I got an EP. The name of that EP is going to be called Still Steppin'. And I'm going to upload a lot of that on these streaming sites and stuff. Hopefully, I'm going to try to have it. I'm going to try to have it out by the 13th of next month, because we have a picnic, and so I want to have some CDs to sell during that time. Like I say, this damn just 6-day-a-week job has just been taking up a lot of my time, because the studio that I go to, for the most part, he's not open on Sunday. He does a lot of he plays like 3 or 4 different bands, and then a lot of times he'll record other bands as well that he plays in. And so that's the only time that I really can get in there on Sundays. And so sometimes he's not open. I planned on having this EP done by now, out by now and stuff, so hopefully pretty soon, man. Smiling Beach, I really wish we could all just laugh and hang together. And most definitely, man. Kuwait is not unemployment. Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing? Chaos, what's up with it, man? This looks like Aaron. Why do people think it's cool to have been in prison? Unfortunately, man, that's a good question. But unfortunately, a lot of times in the urban communities, Hispanic and black communities, we'll put a lot of emphasis on going to prison. I think we got caught up in being to be more macho and tough than we put that over being educated. I know me myself personally, I thought it was square to have a job. We would clown dudes having jobs at McDonald's. We'd go in there at 15, 16 years old and see our homies back there working. We'd laugh, we'd order French fries and throw the French fries on them and all that old type of stuff. I just think at some point in time in some of these communities, going to prison, we made going to prison seem like it was cool. It was macho and it was tough. It was like a rite of passage, not necessarily understanding that it was really a pitfall and a downfall. And so that's, to me, in a nutshell, that's the answer right there. Going to prison is definitely not cool at all. It is 100% a waste of time. Anything that you can accomplish in prison, you can accomplish 20-fold on the streets. And really, it's a waste of time, and it's a misconception. It's who made going to prison cool? The dummy that couldn't read, right? The dude who could kick everybody's ass. He's the one that made all these negative things in the community cool. And since he could beat everybody up, the bad guy of the community, going to prison was what he done. And so he made it cool. He made it seem cool. And since a lot of times as youngsters, misguided youngsters, we emulate or we gravitate to the wrong things, that's definitely how, in my opinion, how that started, right? I had read something a long time ago when I was in prison, and it was called basically it was like the history of Stagger Lee or whatever. And Stagger Lee was a bad kick-ass dude in the black community. He wasn't that smart, but he could kick everybody's ass. And since he could kick everybody's ass, the saying goes that if you can't beat him, join him. And so whatever he pretty much said was cool, people embraced, they gravitated towards, because they didn't want their ass kicked, they didn't want their hat took. And so since this dummy couldn't read, but he could kick your ass, whatever he thought was cool was cool. Just the same way with some of these gangs. A lot of these gangs, man, same reason why you still have grown men, following protocols, following, following, uh-oh,